Welcome back. The UAE's financial markets are closed today. Trading will resume on Sunday. So let's now take a look at the various currencies, followed by the price of oil and commodities. And in our top business story, Greek Prime Minister George Papandreou said on Friday that he expected his party to muster the parliamentary majority required to pass a midterm austerity plan next week. Papandreou said a strong Greece was in the interest of all, and his ruling PASOK party's members of parliament had shown that they were determined to avoid Greece slipping into default. German Chancellor Angela Merkel urged the Greek opposition to do what was necessary and get behind the package, while British Prime Minister David Cameron said Britain would not be drawn into the bailout negotiations. European Union leaders promised more money to help Greece stave off looming bankruptcy, while also approving the creation of a permanent Eurozone bailout fund from June 2013, as well as the strengthening of the existing temporary rescue fund.
We all feel the great sense of responsibility we have, first of all, to the Greek people, and continuing on a difficult path, but I would say a path which is much better than the alternative path of defaulting. This path is something which is guaranteed by sticking to our task, our program, and making the major changes in our country.
In the meantime, EU leaders appointed Italy's Mario Draghi as the next president of the European Central Bank and said Italian Lorenzo Bini will step down from the ECB's executive board early to smooth out the process. Meanwhile, Super Mario, as he's often known, is set to begin his 8-year term at the helm of the ECB on November the 1st. In the midst of an economic slowdown, signs from US factories may avoid a sharp slowdown. New orders for manufactured goods rose in May, and a gauge of business spending also rebounded strongly, which suggests the economy is likely to regain momentum later this year. In the meantime, the government says the economy grew at a slightly better rate in the first quarter than originally thought. That's little help, though, in cutting the budget deficit. Lawmakers in Washington are digging in their heels on taxes and spending.
We do see the U.S. economy as recovering into the second half of the year. We think the two main factors that caused the economy to slow in the first half were higher energy and gas prices and supply chain disruptions from the earthquake in Japan, which particularly hit automobile production and automobile sales.
And Wall Street dropped for a third day on Friday on worries about the Italian banking sector and Greece's debt crisis. But the S&P 500 managed to hold its 200-day moving average in a sign buyers still see value. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 0.96% to end at 11,934 points. The S&P 500 fell 1.17% to finish at 1,268 points, and the Nasdaq Composite lost 1.26% to close at 2,652 points. On the week, the Dow slipped 0.58%, the S&P 500 dropped 0.24%, while the Nasdaq gained 1.39%. And Italian fashion house Prada rose 1.3% in its Hong Kong debut on Friday, defying expectations for a weak start as investors who couldn't buy into the IPO snapped up the stock during a buoyant market session. Shares of the Milan-based company traded as high as 40 Hong Kong dollars, compared with the IPO price of 39.50 Hong Kong dollars. Prada raised $2.14 billion in the initial public offering after pricing it at the bottom of a revised indicative range. Prada's small debut gain surprised some analysts who attributed it to the strength in the broader market, up more than 1.4%. The move by retailers such as Prada to list in Hong Kong is a part of a trend to raise brand awareness in China, the world's fastest growing luxury market.
The way things are growing, they're going to be very quickly the #1 market in the world for luxury. But not only in China, but also the other main shoppers of luxury around the world, particularly in Paris. When you go to Paris, who's queuing up in front of the luxury shops? Chinese. They used to be Japanese, but now it's mainly Chinese.
And up next, we've got the day's sports news, so stay with us.